What began as public humiliation would unravel into a reckoning of past regrets, hidden letters, a barn full of secrets, and a love story neither of them saw coming. In that single moment, Olivia's world shattered, not from the slap she gave, but from the blindness she hadn't seen. She slapped him, right there in public. No hesitation, no warning. The sound cracked through the air like thunder, and when he turned to face her, his sunglasses slipped. His white cane dropped. That's when she saw it. The vacant gaze. The eyes that didn't blink. The truth. Olivia had just humiliated a man who couldn't even see her. She had slapped a blind man. And in that moment, her world collapsed. But what if I told you? That slap was just the beginning? A forgotten letter hidden in hay. A barn bound for demolition. A childhood friend she pushed away. Long before the slap, long before the shame outside the street, Gabriel had already lost more than sight. His world didn't go dark in an instant. It faded piece by piece, light bleeding into shadow. No one knew what really happened that night on Hollow Creek Road. The storm, the fire, the scream that tore through the rain. He had gone back to save someone, and came out blind. They said it was an accident. A gas leak. But Gabriel never spoke of it. Not to the police. Not to the town. Not even to Olivia. All they knew was that the boy who once ran barefoot through Cedarville's hills, chasing dragonflies and laughter, now moved by sound, by scent, by memory. He never begged for pity. Never asked for help. He just disappeared into silence, into shadows. And Olivia, she had known him before the dark. Before his eyes stopped seeing, but his soul started feeling everything. The truth is, she didn't just slap a blind man. She slapped the ghost of a boy who saved lives and lost his own vision in the process. And the saddest part? He still remembered her laugh. But he would never see her smile again. This isn't just a story about a slap. It's about sight, and the things we refuse to see. About love, regret, and the fight to preserve what matters. So sit back. Because what Olivia finds next will change everything. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if stories like this move you, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you ever forgive someone who slapped you in public without knowing your truth?
Amid this lively scene, Olivia paced briskly, her heels clicking against the cobblestones, eyes sharp and restless. Olivia was a woman of measured precision. Her dark hair pulled back into a neat bun, sharp green eyes scanning the crowd with practiced vigilance. Today, the market felt different, charged, as if something was waiting just beneath the surface. She was on edge, her mind tangled in a lingering conflict from yesterday's argument. Ahead, a man stood near the fountain, his posture rigid and still, hands folded in front of him. He wore a dark jacket and a cap pulled low, obscuring his face. Olivia's gaze locked onto him, heart quickening. Something about him stirred a memory, a shadow of a moment she wished to forget. As she approached, the crowd's noise dimmed. The man spoke abruptly, his voice calm but firm. "You can't keep pretending, Olivia." Her breath caught. "I'm not pretending anything. You don't know what you're talking about." Before she could process the words, she raised her hand and slapped him sharply across the cheek. The slap resonated with the crowd's gasps, a sudden crack that shattered the morning's peace. The man's head jerked sideways, but then he reached up slowly, touching his cheek, and a soft, almost inaudible sigh escaped his lips. Olivia's heart hammered, confusion flooding her. "Why aren't you reacting?" she whispered, eyes searching his face. He turned toward her fully, voice gentle but firm. "Because I'm blind." The realization hit her like a thunderclap. The man she had struck in public was blind, and she had acted without knowing. The bustling market suddenly felt suffocating, every pair of eyes on them. Olivia's cheeks burned with shame and disbelief. A storm of emotions churned inside her. Anger, regret, confusion. How had she not known? How could she have been so cruel? The man's expression softened. "It's okay, Olivia. Sometimes we see more with our hearts than with our eyes." The crowd's murmurs faded into the background as Olivia struggled to steady herself, the weight of her actions pressing down like the summer heat. The market square was no longer a place of simple transactions, but the stage for a confrontation that would change everything. Olivia's days usually began with a ritual of order and calm. She worked as a community liaison, bridging the gap between the town's residents and its council. Her life in Cedarville was a tapestry of routines: morning runs along the riverbank, coffees at the corner cafe, and afternoons spent poring over reports in the town hall's quiet office. But beneath her composed exterior, Olivia carried the scars of a fractured past. Years ago, a childhood accident had left her mother in a coma, forcing Olivia into the role of caretaker and reluctant adult. The weight of responsibility hardened her, molding her into a woman who masked vulnerability with sharp edges. Her father's departure when she was 12 had left a void filled only by unanswered questions. She had learned to distrust strangers, to keep her guard up, and to measure every word carefully. Love was a distant concept, replaced by pragmatism and control. Her relationship with the man she had slapped, Gabriel, was complicated. They had grown up together, their paths diverging but never quite severing the thread that tied them. Gabriel had always been different, quiet, introspective, and fiercely independent, despite the blindness that shadowed his life since his teens. Their last encounter before the Market Square incident had been fraught with tension. Gabriel had confronted Olivia about her relentless drive, accusing her of ignoring the needs of the community she claimed to serve. Their argument left words hanging like daggers, unspoken truths festering between them. Now, as she walked the streets of Cedarville, Olivia's mind replayed fragments of their shared history, the laughter, the fights, the silent moments of understanding. She realized that beneath her anger was a deeper, aching connection she had long denied. The town itself reflected this duality, picturesque yet harboring undercurrents of old wounds and new challenges. The cobblestone streets wound past aging brick buildings, their windows reflecting the golden afternoon light. The scent of fresh bread mingled with the earthy aroma of rain-soaked soil, hinting at imminent change. In this town of familiar faces and hidden stories, Olivia felt the stirrings of something that could no longer be ignored. Gabriel's blindness was more than a physical limitation. It was a symbol of unseen truths and unspoken emotions waiting to surface. As twilight approached, casting long shadows over Cedarville, Olivia's resolve hardened. She needed to confront not just Gabriel but the fears and regrets that had shaped her life. The path ahead was uncertain, but the first step had been taken in the market square, under the watchful eyes of the town. The days following the market square incident were tense and awkward. Olivia avoided Gabriel, her pride warring with the gnawing guilt that clung to her like a second skin. The town's whispers were unavoidable. She could feel their eyes on her whenever she walked past the cafe or the library. Gabriel, however, remained composed. He moved through his world with quiet confidence, guided by a cane and an acute awareness of sounds and scents that most overlooked. His blindness gave him a perspective others lacked, allowing him to perceive the unspoken currents beneath Cedarville's surface. One afternoon, Olivia found herself at the local park, the place where she and Gabriel had spent countless hours as children. The playground was silent now, the swings swaying gently in the breeze. She sat on a weathered bench, the wood cool beneath her fingertips, and closed her eyes, trying to summon the courage to speak. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "You're avoiding me." She turned, heart pounding, to see Gabriel standing nearby. His face was calm, but his presence was commanding. "I'm not avoiding you," she lied, though her voice trembled. Gabriel smiled faintly. "You don't have to pretend with me, Olivia. I see more than you think." Her breath hitched. She wanted to explain, to apologize, but the words tangled in her throat. "Why did you slap me?" Gabriel asked gently. The question pierced her defenses. "Because I was angry. Because I thought you were accusing me of things I didn't understand." Gabriel nodded slowly. Sometimes anger blinds us more than any physical darkness. Their conversation hung in the air, a fragile bridge between two wounded souls. Around them the park was alive with the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant laughter of children. The sky above was a soft grey, hinting at rain. Olivia realized that their confrontation was not just about the slap or the blindness. It was about trust, vulnerability, and the courage to see each other as they truly were. As the first drops of rain began to fall, she reached out, touching Gabriel's arm lightly. "Maybe we can start over." He squeezed her hand in response, the beginning of a journey neither had expected, but both desperately needed. The following morning, Cedarville awoke to news that sent ripples through the tight-knit community. The beloved old barn on the edge of town, once a gathering place for festivals, a shelter for stray animals and a symbol of the town's heritage, was slated for demolition to make way for a new commercial development. Olivia received the notice at the town hall, the official letter crisp and impersonal. Her heart sank as she read the words aloud to Gabriel, who stood beside her, cane in hand. "That barn means more than just wood and nails," Olivia said, voice thick with emotion. "It holds memories, stories. It's part of who we are." Gabriel nodded, his face shadowed with concern. "It's where my father taught me to listen, to trust my other senses. If it's gone, part of my past disappears." The news sparked outrage among the residents. Petitions circulated, voices raised in protest. Olivia found herself thrust into the role of mediator, balancing the demands of progress with the preservation of history. But beneath the surface, a deeper mystery stirred. Olivia discovered an old, weathered letter tucked inside a loose floorboard in the barn during a site visit. The letter, yellowed with age and written in a hurried scrawl, hinted at a secret tied to the barn's past and the town's founding families. Curiosity ignited. Olivia shared the letter with Gabriel. Together, they began to unravel its cryptic message, a plea for forgiveness, a warning of betrayal, and a clue pointing toward a forgotten truth buried beneath the barn's hay bales. The revelation became the catalyst that propelled Olivia and Gabriel into a quest far beyond the fight to save a building. It was a journey of rediscovery, forgiveness, and understanding that challenged their perceptions and forced them to confront the shadows of Cedarville's history. As the community's voices grew louder and the threat of demolition loomed closer, Olivia and Gabriel found themselves united by a shared purpose. The slap in the market square was no longer an isolated moment of conflict, but the spark that ignited a profound transformation. In the heart of the town, beneath layers of dust and memory, the old barn held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and with them, the chance for healing and redemption. The morning mist clung to the fields around the old barn as Olivia and Gabriel approached the weathered wooden structure. The scent of damp earth and hay filled the air, mingling with the faint aroma of aged pine. The barn's faded red paint peeled from the boards, but its sturdy frame still stood defiantly against time. Inside, shafts of light filtered through cracks, illuminating floating dust motes that danced in the quiet. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet as they searched for further clues. Olivia's fingers traced the rough texture of the walls, while Gabriel's hands moved deftly, mapping the space around him. Together, they examined the hay bales stacked in the corner, their coarse fibers prickling against their skin. Olivia carefully lifted one bale, revealing beneath it a small, rusted tin box. Her heart quickened as she pried it open, uncovering faded photographs, a tarnished locket, and more letters tied with a fraying ribbon. Gabriel's fingers brushed over the photographs, memorizing the faces, some familiar, others strange. These people, they were part of the town's founding families. Olivia unfolded another letter, its ink smudged but legible. The words spoke of a hidden pact, a betrayal that had fractured relationships decades ago. The letter hinted that the barn was not just a gathering place, but a silent witness to promises broken and secrets buried. As they pieced together the fragments, a pattern emerged, a story of love, loss, and resilience that mirrored their own struggles. The barn was more than timber and nails, it was a repository of the town's soul. Outside, the distant hum of construction machinery reminded them of the ticking clock. The developers were moving forward, and time was running out. Determined, Olivia and Gabriel knew they had to share their findings with the community, to awaken the town's memory and rally support. The old barn's fate was now entwined with the uncovering of truths long hidden. Their partnership deepened as they worked side by side, the slap in the market square transforming from a moment of pain into a foundation of trust and shared purpose. The journey to save the barn was no longer just about preservation, it was about healing old wounds and forging a path toward understanding. News of Olivia and Gabriel's discovery spread through Cedarville like wildfire. The community's initial curiosity soon gave way to heated debates. At the town hall meeting, voices clashed, some advocating for progress and economic growth, others yearning to preserve the barn's legacy. Olivia stood at the podium, her voice steady but passionate. This barn is a link to our past. It holds stories that define who we are. If we lose it, we lose a part of ourselves. Opposing her was Richard Hayes, a developer with a sharp suit and sharper words. "We're not against history," he said smoothly. "But Cedarville needs opportunities, jobs. The new center will bring that." The tension in the room was palpable. Gabriel, seated in the front row, listened intently, his cane resting across his lap. Though blind, his presence was commanding, a reminder of the community's diversity and resilience. Behind the scenes, Olivia faced bureaucratic hurdles. Permits, zoning laws, and legal battles threatened to derail their efforts. Some townsfolk grew weary, skeptical of the old letter's significance. To complicate matters, rumors began circulating that the letter was a forgery, a desperate ploy to stall development. Olivia felt the sting of doubt, but refused to give up. One evening, as rain pattered against the office window, Gabriel visited Olivia. "Sometimes the hardest battles are not with others but with ourselves," he said softly. "We must hold on to what we believe." She nodded, drawing strength from his words. Their alliance was no longer just about the barn. It was about confronting fears, rebuilding trust, and finding hope amid uncertainty. Together, they planned a community event at the barn, hoping to rekindle the town's connection to its roots. The hay bales would become a gathering place once more, filled with voices and stories. As night deepened, the challenges ahead loomed large. But Olivia and Gabriel's resolve burned brighter, fueled by the knowledge that the barn's secrets were worth fighting for. The day of the community gathering arrived, casting a warm glow over the old barn and surrounding fields. Strings of fairy lights hung from the rafters, weaving through the beams and illuminating the hay bales arranged in a circle. The scent of freshly baked bread and simmering stew wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of the barn's wooden walls. Residents of all ages trickled in, curious and cautious. Children darted between hay bales, their laughter echoing, while elders exchanged knowing glances. Olivia and Gabriel moved among them, sharing pieces of the story uncovered from the letters and photographs. Gabriel's voice, calm and resonant, guided the crowd through the barn's history. Despite his blindness, his words painted vivid pictures of the past, of friendships forged, promises made, and the betrayals that had shadowed the town's legacy. Olivia watched as walls of skepticism began to crumble. People nodded, whispered memories, and connected dots long ignored. The barn, once seen as a relic, transformed into a living monument. As night deepened, the community joined hands, singing old folk songs that had been passed down through generations. The hay bales, softened by blankets and pillows, became seats of shared warmth and solidarity. In a quiet moment, Gabriel reached out, his fingers brushing Olivia's hand. The gesture spoke volumes, of forgiveness, understanding, and newfound trust. The gathering was more than a protest, it was a celebration of resilience and hope. The barn had become a symbol not just of the town's history, but of its future. As the last song faded, Olivia felt a profound shift within herself. The anger and regret that had clouded her heart were replaced by a sense of purpose and connection. Together they had begun to heal, both the barn and the bonds between them in the days following the gathering. Olivia found herself reflecting on the journey she and Gabriel had embarked upon. The barn's mysteries had opened doors within her own heart, revealing vulnerabilities she had long buried beneath layers of control. One afternoon she visited Gabriel at his modest home on the outskirts of Cedarville. The walls were lined with tactile art pieces and braille books, each carefully arranged. The scent of lavender filled the room, calming and familiar. Gabriel sat by the window, his cane resting nearby. "You've changed," he said softly as she entered. Olivia smiled, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "So have you." They talked for hours, sharing fears and hopes, the conversation flowing like a river breaking free from a dam. Gabriel spoke of his blindness not as a limitation, but as a different way of experiencing the world, through sound, touch, and intuition. Olivia admitted her struggles with trust and control, how the slap in the market square had been an eruption of bottled-up pain. "Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves," Gabriel said gently. "But forgiveness is the key to moving forward." Their dialogue unfolded with honesty and tenderness, a dance of emotions that deepened their connection. Olivia realized that healing was not a destination but a continuous journey. As twilight bathed the room in soft hues, she reached out, fingers brushing Gabriel's hand once more. In that simple touch, hope blossomed, a promise of transformation and renewal. The barn's story had become intertwined with their own, each hay bale a metaphor for burdens carried and shared. Together, they faced the past not as adversaries but as allies. Olivia left Gabriel's home with a newfound clarity. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, she felt ready to walk it, not alone, but hand in hand. Tensions escalated as the demolition date for the barn drew near. The developers intensified their efforts, backed by town officials eager to see progress. Olivia and Gabriel found themselves at the center of a storm, their cause both championed and challenged. One evening, as they reviewed documents in the dim light of the town hall, a sudden commotion erupted outside. A group of protesters had gathered, holding signs and chanting slogans. The air was thick with urgency and frustration. Amid the crowd, Olivia spotted Richard Hayes, attempting to negotiate with the protest leaders. His words were sharp, dismissive. The divide within Cedarville was palpable. Gabriel's face was set with determination. "We can't let them win. The barn represents more than just a building. It's our heritage." But the strain was evident. Olivia's voice cracked as she confronted the reality of their fight. What if we're too late? Their partnership was tested by exhaustion and doubt. Yet, in the midst of uncertainty, they discovered renewed strength in each other's presence. One night, as rain hammered against the windows, Olivia found herself alone in the barn. The scent of hay and aged wood enveloped her, memories swirling like shadows. She ran her hand over the rough surface of a bale, feeling the coarse strands beneath her fingers. In that moment, clarity emerged. The barn was not merely a structure but a testament to resilience, a symbol of the town's enduring spirit. She called Gabriel, voice steady. "We fight not just to save the barn but to save ourselves." Their resolve crystallized. The turning point had arrived, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The legal battle intensified as Olivia and Gabriel presented their findings to the town council. The old letters, photographs, and community testimonies painted a compelling picture of the barn's significance. Yet, the opposition was relentless. Richard Hayes unveiled plans for lucrative development, promising jobs and modernization. The council was divided, caught between progress and preservation. The night before the final vote, tensions erupted into a heated confrontation at a local diner. Olivia and Gabriel faced Richard and his team, voices raised, accusations flying. The atmosphere crackled with raw emotion. In the chaos, Olivia's frustration boiled over. She confronted Richard, her words sharp and unyielding. The slap in the market square echoed in her memory, a reminder of how easily anger could consume. The next day, the council voted narrowly in favor of preservation, granting the barn protected status. The victory was bittersweet, scars remained, and trust was fragile. Cedarville breathed a tentative sigh of relief. The barn would stand, a beacon of hope and history. For Olivia and Gabriel, the consequences of their fight rippled deep. Their bond had been tested, forged anew through trials and triumphs. As they stood among the hay bales in the barn, the scent of earth and memories surrounding them, they understood that the journey was far from over. The barn had become a sanctuary, a place where forgiveness and resilience thrived. Together, they faced the future, uncertain but united. The weeks that followed brought a calm before the storm. Olivia and Gabriel prepared for the final public hearing that would cement the barn's fate. The town hall was transformed into a battleground of voices and emotions. Olivia spent long hours organizing community support, gathering testimonials and evidence. The hay bales from the barn were brought inside, placed around the room as symbolic anchors, a tactile reminder of what was at stake. Gabriel honed his speech, his voice steady despite the weight of expectation. He practiced with Olivia, their words weaving a narrative of history, resilience, and hope. The atmosphere was electric, The scent of polished wood and old paper filled the air, mingling with the nervous energy of those assembled. Olivia felt a mixture of anxiety and determination. The slap in the market square, once a moment of rupture, had become a catalyst for change. She had grown, learned to embrace vulnerability and courage. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the town hall, they reviewed their strategy one last time. Every detail mattered, the tone, the facts, the emotions. Gabriel reached out, his fingers brushing Olivia's hand. "We're ready?" She nodded, heart racing. The confrontation awaited, but they faced it together, strengthened by the journey that had brought them here. The barn's future, and their own, hung in the balance. The town hall overflowed with residents, media, and officials. The air buzzed with anticipation, voices hushed as Olivia stepped to the podium. The hay bales around the room bore silent witness to the community's shared history and struggle. Her eyes scanned the crowd, landing on Gabriel, who stood quietly at her side. She took a deep breath, the scent of worn leather and cedar grounding her. "Ladies and gentlemen," Olivia began, voice clear and resolute, "the old barn is more than a structure. It is a repository of our memories, our struggles, and our identity." She recounted the story unearthed from the letters, weaving a tapestry of love, betrayal, and resilience. Her words painted vivid images: the coarse texture of hay bales, the flicker of candlelight in the barn's dark corners, the echoes of laughter and tears. Gabriel followed, his voice steady despite his blindness. "Though I cannot see, I feel the presence of this place. It has shaped me, taught me to listen and trust. To lose it would be to lose a part of ourselves." Richard Hayes rose to present his case, emphasizing economic growth and modernization. His words were polished but lacked the warmth and history Olivia and Gabriel had conveyed. The council deliberated, the room thick with tension. Finally, the decision was announced. The barn would be preserved, protected as a historical landmark. Cheers erupted, tears flowed, and hands clapped. Olivia and Gabriel embraced, their journey culminating in this moment of victory. The slap in the market square, once a symbol of conflict, had paved the way for understanding and transformation. The barn stood, resilient and alive, a testament to hope restored. In the days after the hearing, the barn buzzed with renewed energy. Volunteers arrived to clean and restore the space, their laughter mingling with the rustle of hay bales and the scent of fresh paint. Olivia and Gabriel worked side by side, their partnership deepened by trials overcome. The barn became a community centre once more, hosting workshops, storytelling nights, and celebrations. Olivia's heart swelled with pride and gratitude. She had learned to embrace imperfection, to forgive herself and others. The anger that had once consumed her was replaced by compassion and hope. Gabriel's blindness no longer defined him, but enriched his perspective. Together they navigated challenges with resilience and grace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they sat atop a hay bale outside the barn. The air was cool, filled with the scent of wildflowers and fresh earth. Gabriel reached out, fingers entwining with Olivia's. "Thank you for seeing me," he whispered. She smiled, tears glistening. "And thank you for helping me see." Their journey was far from over, but in this moment, healing was complete. The barn stood as a symbol, not just of history but of transformation, resilience, and the enduring power of human connection. Months passed, and Cedarville flourished. The barn, now fully restored, became a vibrant hub of creativity and community. Its hay bales, once symbols of burden, were now seats of joy and learning. Olivia and Gabriel continued to lead initiatives that honored the town's past while embracing its future. Their bond, forged in adversity, blossomed into a deep friendship rooted in trust and understanding. The market square, once the site of a painful slap, was now a place of laughter and celebration. Olivia often thought back to that moment, a turning point that had shattered illusions and opened doors. The old letter and the barn's secrets had revealed more than history. They had uncovered the strength within themselves and their community. As twilight painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Olivia and Gabriel stood outside the barn, surrounded by friends and neighbors. The scent of hay and wildflowers filled the air, a reminder of the journey they had traveled. Gabriel smiled, fingers brushing Olivia's hand gently. "We've come far," she nodded, eyes shining. "And the best is yet to come. Together they faced the horizon, hopeful, resilient,